going on, everyone? I hope you guys are having a wonderful night, and in today's video we're going to be going over my entire TradingView setup, what I use, when I use it, what you guys should be adding as beginner, intermediate, or advanced traders. Now I'm going to be going through each single thing, giving a brief overview of what it does, and overall giving you guys a good idea of what you should be adding. So the first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is change the background, because I really don't like this type of background. I like my background black because it's not too bright on my eyes. Usually when I do like a white background, it's really bright and it hurts my eyes. So the first thing we'll do is add a black background. So let's go ahead and do that. So appearance, we're gonna go to appearance. And then these things right here, I'm just gonna black them out. And this one too, just black it out. We're gonna have a dark surface like this. And I like having the dark surface, one, because it doesn't blind you, because staring at the computer so long, like for hours and hours looking for plays, or just like trying to find opportunity within the market. If it's white, personally, it's really bright and it hurts your eyes after a little while. So unless it's really far away, but this monitor in particular is very close to my eyes, about probably about 3 feet from me. So a white background would burn my eyes if I stare at it every day. So I'm doing a black background. So the first thing I'm going to go ahead and add is volume. And I'm going to add volume because I want to know the amount of buyers and sellers at any given point in any stock. Because if I can know this, I'm going to know the potential direction of this stock. So I'm going to go up here to indicators and I'm going to look for volume. It should be the first one, so volume. So boom, we added volume. Now we know the amount of buyers and sellers at any given point in any stock, because we have volume. And also I really do like volume because it breaks. So for instance here, this is the highest point here. A break with volume represents like a clean break to the upside. So here, this is a previous high, and we see that it broke with volume hit on this side right here. So this clearly represents that this stock, if there were more time, which right here the market closed, but if there were more time, it would continue to go up, or it would consolidate here and then get ready for another push to the upside. So that's one way you can use volume. On the downside, it would be the complete opposite. You look at the support, and wherever it breaks with volume on the downside is a good entry point. So here it tested, but of course there's no volume. You can see there's low volume on the downside. So of course it bounced, came back up, and it did not break until about 5 minutes before the market closed. So volume is very important in my opinion. Second indicator we're going to be adding is going to be MACD. I love MACD because it shows me when either buyers or sellers are in control. And I really want to know when buyers and sellers are in control, because this is going to dictate the trend. If there are sellers in control, then it's more likely to be a downtrend. If there are more buyers in control, it's more likely to be no trend. So I always want to know when there's buyers, when the buyers are in control or when the sellers are in control. For instance, right here we can see that as soon as the MACD lines cross, the blue over the orange, and now these colors can be different for everybody, but I just chose these colors for me. But as soon as the blue crossed under, boom, under and over the orange, or you could say that the orange crossed over the blue, as soon as that happened, we could see that the buying pressure picked up. It was around this area. You can see that, boom, as soon as it crossed, the buyer pressure picked up, and of course it was a direct indication that the buyers were in control. So that is why I love the MACD. And also, I recommend using it only when it's below the zero line, because that's when it's the most accurate. If it crosses when it's above the zero line, now this is the zero line here. If it crosses when it's above the zero line, it's a little bit more risky, because now the buyers or sellers are on a different level, and in that level it's just more risky. So I just recommend that you guys follow MACD to a higher extent when it's on the downside below the zero line. Okay, so next we're going to be adding the Bollinger bands. So let's go ahead and add them. And at this point we're going to be adding, I like the 50-day moving average. So I'm going to click on BB. I'm going to go to style. First off, I want to change the red one. I want to make it nice and thick so that I can see exactly where the 50-day moving average is. And I'm gonna go back to inputs, and here I'm gonna put 50. On length, I'm gonna put 50 because I want the 50-day moving average. So after I have the 50, I'm gonna go up to these lines, and these lines I'll make them a little bit thicker. I like them a little bit thicker than the last ones, but not as thick as the 50-day moving average. So I'm gonna make them this thickness, or you could even go a little bit thinner. This right here. You can even make it this one, and of course you could change the background if you wish, but I'll just go ahead and leave it like that. So okay, once we have that, we're gonna be adding the. Let me briefly explain what the bands do. So basically, the higher the separation on these bands, the more volatility within the stock. So for instance, let's say like here, we see a ton of separation, so we see a ton of volatility. Here we can see that the SPY came down because there's a ton of volatility. You can see the separation was massive. And out here, we see it more closer, and we see the volatility is less. There's less volatility. Because of course they're closer. And of course, when we see the stock overbought, like in this area, it's overbought because it's above the top band. As soon as it's overbought, they're gonna come right back into the 50-day moving average. So that's a good indicator to see when it's overbought and to also see the volatility within the stock. And of course, you can use the 50-day moving average as support and resistance. So next we're gonna be adding 200-day moving average, and for that we just go to moving averages or moving average. So we're gonna add the moving average, and I added 2 by accident, so I'm just gonna add 1. So I'm gonna go to the settings, I'm gonna go to inputs, and here I'm gonna type in 200. Okay, so now that I have the 200, I like to make it a nice thick yellow line, just so I can see, and I can see where large financial institutions are going to buy this stock, because a lot of financial institutions use the 200-day moving average as a direct indication of when they should go in or when they should buy out a stock. So to see where large financial institutions are going to buy out the stock, because like I said, large financial institutions use the 200-day moving average as a direct indication of when to go in or out of the stock. So for instance, here we see that SPY finished above the 200-day moving average, and it's more inclined to gap up. And on some areas, like for instance here, it finished below the 200-day moving average, so the next day it gapped up to above the 200-day moving average. And like I said, I always say this, the federal government, the Federal Reserve, does not want the SPY below the 200-day moving average, because this is dangerous territory. So every time we finish below 200-day moving average, we can see we gap up. So here we finished below, and of course it came right back up above the 200-day moving average, finished above, and boom, because it's very dangerous levels below. So this is a good indication of when you should go buy calls for swings, or when you could even buy some puts on different stocks. With the S&P 500, personally, I use the 200-day moving average to see when it's going to get bought back up. It's also a very strong support and resistance level. So next, we are going to be adding, what else? There's something else. Pivot points. How could I even forget pivot points? Now these pivot points, they're very important because they're going to graph out the support and resistance levels for you guys automatically. Now, if you go and you graph them out by yourself, you can take hours upon hours upon hours. So it's very, very important that you have something doing the job for you. So here I have all my support and resistance graphed out for me. But of course, this is too confusing having all these back here. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to go to my settings. I'm going to go to my inputs, and then show historical pivots. I'm going to take that off. Okay. And then boom, we have all the support and resistance levels that we could ever need. You could also use these as targets for when to take profits. So if, for instance, here we can see that there's a strong support, strong resistance. We see a break with volume. So per se, say that SPY kept going up this day, a good place to take profits would be 340, 384, because this is the next strongest resistance level. And it would be the exact same thing on the downside. So here, for instance, there would be a strong support here because of the past, and a strong resistance up here. So it would give you a direct indication when to take profits. If we are living through that live, because of course it doesn't show historical pivots, it only shows the current ones. But if you choose to go with historical pivot points, if you choose to do all of that, all I want to say is this: don't pay too much attention to those, because in my opinion, I mean, the longer a support resistance exists, the more weight they hold, the more support resistance, the more credibility they can hold. However, I just think it's way too confusing to have all those things. So for instance here, I would do something like this. Instead of having all those mapped out, I would get this one and just do this. And now I have the strongest support. Or I come back here and do this instead of just having all the pivot points, because that's a little confusing. So I'd have like something like this. And say it's on the upside. So here's another strong support. And now say tomorrow we open down, which we probably will gap up a little bit. But say tomorrow we open down, this would be a strong resistance. Because that's very close. That's the previous highest point. And of course, to get into the play, we wait for a break with proper volume. Boom, we go in. And of course, the pivot point support and resistance are where you continue profit. Okay, guys. So the next thing we're going to be adding, and this is more optional, but we're going to go up here. And you guys should add a watch list. So there's different things you guys can add. If you go to create new list, you guys can rename it. But the main thing that I want to show you guys is that you guys should have your little watch list here, so you guys can quickly move through them. Because I know a lot of people don't have a lot of monitors to be able to just look at 20 stocks at a single time. So if you guys could just have your watch list here, you could just go through each single one like this. TQQQ. We have Tesla, we just go back and forth. Or you guys could even do something like this. You guys could even put 2 screens. Which personally, I like using different monitors for different stocks because I like having a more open area. You guys could always do that. That if you guys want to see after hours trading, go to your settings, go to symbol, and then extended hours, intraday only. If you guys put this, you guys are going to be able to see that. If you guys put this, you guys are going to be able to see extended hours. So it's very, very, very useful if you want to see how your stocks are doing after hours. If you don't know, it's always good to know what you're investing in and stuff. So it's always good to know where you stand. So if you guys want to see after hours trading, once again, go to your settings, symbol. Alright guys, that's basically going to conclude this video. If you guys enjoyed it, be sure to leave a thumbs up. And also, I will be adding more indicators as we go, but for now this is just a brief overview of what I currently have, what I'm currently using. But it could literally change tomorrow, so I will be updating with more of these videos. But I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Have a productive rest of your night. Take care, and God bless you all.